Show more 2:41 p.m. What if your cat has been sending you signals every single day, and you have been missing every single one of them? Not because you do not care, but because nobody ever told you what to look for. There is a quiet kind of communication happening inside your home right now, and the more you understand it, the more you will realize that your cat has been waiting for you to meet them halfway for a very long time. What they are waiting for is not expensive or complicated. It is not a new toy or a special treat. It is something far more personal than that. And once you understand what it is, the way you see your cat will never quite be the same. Let us start with something that most cat owners have done without thinking twice about it. Your cat finds their way to the top of the refrigerator or scales the highest shelf in the room, and almost instinctively you lift them down and place them back on the floor. It feels like the responsible thing to do. It feels like you are keeping them safe. But in that single moment, you have quietly denied your cat one of the most fundamental needs they carry in their instincts every single hour of the day. Cats are built for height, not in a casual, optional kind of way, but in a deeply wired, biologically driven way that goes back thousands of years before they ever shared a home with humans. In the wild, the ability to climb high was not about adventure or curiosity. It was about survival. A cat perched above the ground could see predators approaching from every direction. They could assess danger before it reached them. They could rest without vulnerability because nothing could sneak up from below. That instinct did not disappear when cats moved indoors. It is still running inside your cat right now every single day. Research published in the journal Applied Animal Behavior Science confirmed what many cat behaviorists had long suspected. Cats who are given access to elevated spaces consistently show lower levels of stress than cats who are confined to floor-level living. This is not a minor preference. It is a measurable, documented need. And the overwhelming majority of cat owners never fulfill it because they do not understand what is actually being asked of them. Think about where your cat goes when something frightens them. Think about where they retreat when there is a loud noise, a stranger at the door, or tension in the house. If the answer is under the bed or tucked behind a piece of furniture, that is your cat telling you something important. They are not finding comfort. They are finding the only available option. They are hiding at ground level because they were never offered the gift of safety at height. A wall-mounted shelf, a tall cat tree positioned near a window, even a cleared bookcase top with a folded blanket placed on it. Any of these can change the emotional landscape of your cat's entire day. When a cat has a vertical space they can genuinely call their own, something visible shifts in how they carry themselves. They stop hiding. They start observing. They move from a posture of anxiety to a posture of ownership. And that transition, from hiding to watching, is the exact moment your cat begins to feel that the place they live is truly also theirs. If that surprised you, stay with this because what comes next is the behavior that most cat owners have been getting wrong multiple times every single day. You reach out to pet your cat. You do it naturally, without hesitation, because you love them and petting feels like expressing that love. But your cat flinches slightly, or ducks their head, or simply turns and walks in the other direction. You shrug. Maybe you think they are just in a mood, but your cat just communicated something to you, clearly and honestly, and it passed you by without a second thought. Here is the part that most people never hear. Every single time you reach out and touch your cat without them first asking for it, you are making a small withdrawal from something that functions exactly like a trust account. One unasked for touch is harmless. 2 or 3 still manageable. But consider how many times throughout a normal day a hand reaches for a cat who did not invite it. Across days, weeks, months, that account can quietly empty out. And a cat whose trust account is depleted does not suddenly become aggressive or visibly distressed. They simply stop coming close. They stop asking. They learn, gradually and without drama, that closeness is not always on their terms. Cats are nearly unique among domestic animals in this way. For most pets, affection initiated by the owner is welcomed and returned. For cats, the research tells a different story. A study conducted at the University of Lincoln found that cats who were given control over when and how physical contact occurred developed measurably stronger bonds with their owners than cats who were petted freely and frequently without that consent. The quality of connection is tied directly to the question of who is choosing the moment. So what does a cat asking actually look like in practice? It is the slow, deliberate walk toward you with their tail held straight and upright. It is the gentle bump of their head against your hand as it rests on the armrest. It is the moment they choose, on their own, to climb into your lap and settle in without you reaching for them or calling them over. These are the invitations. Everything outside of these is you making a decision that your cat was not given the chance to make for themselves. The hardest part of changing this habit is not logistical. It is emotional. Keeping your hands still when your cat walks past feels unnatural if you love them. Sitting on the couch without reaching down when they are near takes a kind of restraint that goes against every warm impulse. But something remarkable happens when you begin to practice this. Your cat starts moving toward you more. Not because you trained them, not because you offered a reward, but because you became something their instincts recognize as safe. A presence that waits to be invited rather than one that simply reaches. Now consider this. When was the last time you sat on the floor with your cat? Not to retrieve something, not to guide them away from something, but simply to exist in their space at their level with no agenda attached to the moment. For most owners, the honest answer is rarely or never. And this matters more than most people realize. Your cat spends the entirety of their life looking upward at you. You are a towering presence that moves quickly, speaks at a volume that can startle, and operates at a height that places you permanently in the category of large, dominant, unpredictable things. From a purely perceptual standpoint, that is not a comfortable dynamic. That is something to be monitored, something to be cautious around, even if it is also something deeply loved. Animal behavior researchers have noted that cats interpret physical height and body size as signals connected to dominance and potential threat. It is not that your cat fears you. It is that the architecture of every interaction between you is shaped by a size difference that never goes away. Except when you choose to sit on the floor. When you lower yourself to their level and simply exist there without reaching, without calling, without performing any kind of action directed at them, something in their assessment of you shifts. You become less of a towering, unpredictable force and more of a presence that shares their world. Some cats will walk over within minutes. Others will simply relax more deeply into wherever they are already resting, because something that required monitoring has quietly stopped requiring it. For cats who carry anxiety, for cats who are newly arrived in a home, for cats who have always seemed just slightly out of reach no matter what you tried, 10 minutes on the floor can accomplish what months of deliberate effort sometimes cannot. Your cat has been waiting for you to come down to their world. The solution is almost absurdly simple, and almost no one ever thinks to try it. Let us talk about touch, specifically the moment right before it. When you reach toward your cat to begin petting them, do you pause first and offer your hand for them to investigate? Or do you simply move directly to the head or the back and begin? Be honest with yourself, because for most people the answer is the second one, and it matters in ways that most cat owners have never considered. A cat's sense of smell is approximately 14 times more powerful than a human's. This is not a curiosity or a fun fact. It is the foundation of how cats understand everything around them, including you. Before your cat knows if this moment feels safe, before they decide if contact is welcome, before anything else registers at a meaningful level, they need to process scent. Scent tells them who you are, what state you are in, whether something unfamiliar has entered the space on your clothes or your hands, and whether this particular moment feels like something they want to participate in. When you skip past this and go directly to contact, you are skipping the equivalent of a greeting. You are going past the introduction and arriving at physical closeness without the information exchange that would have made that closeness feel appropriate. For a human, this would feel intrusive. For a cat, it registers as a disruption of the process that makes interaction feel safe. The adjustment is almost effortless. Before reaching for your cat, extend one finger or the back of your hand toward them, just a few inches from their nose, and then simply stop moving. Let them decide what happens next. If they lean forward and touch their nose to your hand, or if they turn and rub their cheek across your fingers, the invitation has been offered and accepted. If they turn their face away or take a step back, that is an equally clear answer, and one that deserves to be respected without taking it personally. Research published in the Journal of Veterinary Behavior found that cats who were allowed to initiate contact through scent exploration first showed significantly reduced signs of stress and agitation during handling compared to cats who were touched without that preliminary exchange. 2 seconds. That is the entire commitment. 2 seconds of stillness before your hand reaches further, and your cat's experience of your touch is fundamentally changed. Think about how many times each day your hand moves toward your cat, and then imagine each one of those moments beginning with that small, respectful pause. Over time, it stops being a technique and becomes simply the language you speak with each other. There is another thing your cat has been waiting for, and it has nothing to do with touch or proximity or physical space. It has to do with time and pattern and the invisible architecture of their day. Have you ever noticed your cat already positioned by their bowl before you have made any move toward the kitchen at feeding time? Have you noticed them appearing at the door at roughly the same hour each evening, as if they know when to expect you? That is not coincidence. That is your cat demonstrating something important about what they need most from the way you live alongside them. Cats do not experience time the way humans do. They do not watch clocks or anticipate events by counting hours. What they do instead is build an internal map from patterns. When feeding happens at a consistent time, when play follows a predictable rhythm, when the household settles into quiet at roughly the same hour each evening, a cat begins to construct a kind of internal calendar of their day. And that calendar becomes deeply important to their sense of security. It becomes the stable framework inside which they can fully relax. Research published in the Journal of Feline Medicine and Surgery identified unpredictable living environments as one of the primary contributors to chronic stress in indoor cats. And critically, the disruptions they identified were not dramatic or obvious ones. They were the small, everyday inconsistencies that most owners never connect to their cat's emotional state. Feeding half an hour later than usual. Skipping the regular play session for several days in a row. Arriving home at varying hours with no reliable pattern. To the owner, these are simply the fluctuations of a normal human life. To the cat, the most stable and predictable element of their entire world has become unreliable. The response that follows is not dramatic. Cats rarely express chronic stress loudly. Instead, they become more guarded, more watchful, less open. They carry a low-level tension that never fully releases because the safety of knowing what comes next has been removed. A cat living in this state does not have the ease required to be fully present with you. They are spending their emotional resources monitoring an environment they cannot fully trust. The adjustment here does not require a rigid schedule or a perfectly structured day. It requires consistency in the moments that carry the most weight. Feeding around the same time. A brief play session that arrives reliably enough that your cat begins to anticipate it. Even the simple act of settling into the same spot at the same general hour each evening gives your cat something to anchor their sense of rhythm to. The payoff for this investment is not small. A cat who knows what is coming is a cat who can stop bracing. And a cat who is no longer bracing has the freedom to bring themselves fully into the relationship they share with you. Most owners who want a more affectionate, more engaged, more trusting cat never think to examine the structure of their day as the place where that change begins. But routine is often the difference between a cat who is always slightly on edge and a cat who has the security to genuinely let you in. Now let us talk about something that most cat owners do every day, often without recognizing its significance. You talk to your cat. Maybe as you move through the kitchen in the morning. Maybe as you walk past them in the hallway or settle in for the evening. You narrate your thoughts or your day without expecting a meaningful response, and you do it anyway because it feels natural. If this is you, something important needs to be said. You are not being eccentric. You are doing one of the most meaningful things a cat owner can do, and the science behind why it matters is genuinely remarkable. Adult cats do not meow to communicate with each other. This is one of those facts that, once understood, changes the way you hear every sound your cat makes. The meow, in all its variations and nuances, is a form of communication that cats developed specifically and exclusively for interacting with humans. Your cat observed over time that sounds could produce responses from you, that certain vocalizations brought you closer, brought food, brought attention, brought comfort. And so they built a language unique to each individual cat, tailored to the specific human or humans they live with. Research from Lund University in Sweden confirmed that cats develop distinct vocal patterns matched to their particular owner. The sounds your cat makes are not generic. They are personal. They are, in the most literal sense, a language created for you specifically. No other cat on earth produces those exact sounds, because no other cat is trying to reach you. Now consider this. Your cat has been speaking this language to you every single day. At the door when you come home. In the kitchen when food is being prepared. In the hallway at night as they follow you from room to room. They have been talking. And most owners, even those who love their cats deeply and would do anything for them, do not talk back. They receive the communication without returning it, not out of indifference, but simply because nobody ever framed it this way. Research published in Animal Cognition found that cats can distinguish their owner's voice from the voice of a stranger and respond to their owner's voice in measurably different ways. They are not simply registering sound. They are listening for you specifically. They know your voice the way someone knows the sound of a person they share their life with. You do not need specific words or a special tone. You do not need to construct meaningful sentences or pretend that the conversation is something it is not. Just speak to them the way you would speak to someone who shares your space and your days. Say good morning when you first see them. Narrate what you are doing while you are in the kitchen. Tell them about the part of your day that frustrated you or the moment that made you smile. It sounds unconventional, but what is actually happening is that you are returning a communication that has been offered to you every day, and perhaps for the first time your cat is hearing something come back. There is something that ties all of these things together, something worth sitting with before this ends. Your cat is not asking for grand gestures. They are not asking for unlimited time or perfect attention or constant interaction. What they have been quietly waiting for, through every day you have shared together, is something far more precise than that. They have been waiting to be understood, not in a vague, sentimental way, in a specific, behavioral, moment-to-moment way. They have been asking for a high place to feel safe in. They have been waiting for you to let them come to you instead of always reaching first. They have been hoping you would come down to their level just once without wanting anything from them. They have been pausing at your hand before contact, ready to say yes or no, hoping you would notice the pause. They have been tracking the rhythm of your days and hoping it would stay steady enough to rest inside. They have been calling out to you in the only language they ever built, and listening for your voice in return. Cats are often described as independent, as if independence means they do not need much from the people they live with. But what the research and the behavior actually show is something different. Cats need very specific things. They need them consistently, and they communicate about them constantly. The independence is not indifference. It is a kind of quiet patience. A willingness to keep showing up and keep signaling even when the signal has not yet been received. Your cat has been waiting, not with resentment, not with urgency, but with the steady, faithful presence of an animal who chose you and keeps choosing you, day after day, in the hope that one day you will finally understand exactly what they have been trying to say.